Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Lenten service. This evening we are fasting from inactivity and feasting on movement. Am I hearing music somewhere? Who? All right. Well, I know sometimes I hear music that isn't there, so I had to ask. All right. So we're going to open with song number 692 in the ELW in the Red Books. We are an offering.
We lift our voices, we lift our hands, we lift our lives up to you. We are an offering. Lord, use our voices. Lord, use our hands. Lord, use our lives. They are yours. We are an offering. All that we have, all that we are, all that we hope to be, we give to you. We give to you. We lift our voices, we lift our hands, we lift our lives up to you. We are an offering. We are an offering. We lift our voices. We lift our hands. We lift our lives up to you. We are an offering. Lord, use our voices. Lord, use our hands. Lord, use our lives. They are yours. We are an offering. All that we have, all that we are, all that we hope to be, we give to you. We give to you. We lift our voices, we lift our hands, we lift our lives up to you. We are an offering. We are an offering.
Let us pray. Spirit of gentleness, blow through the wilderness, calling and free. Spirit of restlessness, stir me from placidness. Wind, wind on the sea. Amen. This evening, we have a relatively new member of our congregation that is going to speak to us. He is a teacher at Mona Shores High School. He will be sharing his thoughts about movement this evening, and it made me think of Newton's first law. I mean, didn't you think of that when I talked about movement? It made me think of Newton's first law of motion, that an object at rest remains at rest, and an object in motion tends to remain in motion, which we call what, class? Together? Inertia. Yay, A+ for the kid in the corner. Oh, that's Nate Johnston. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nate Johnston. My wife and I have been coming for a couple of years, but you may not know us super well because during the pandemic we were at home, like a lot of people, and we have a almost 3-year-old, and then we have a baby on the way in May, so you may not see a ton of us the next year, but we'll be around as much as we can. It's really no surprise to me that Bill asked me to speak about movement because I rode my bike here tonight, and my wife said, "That's going to look really good for your talk tonight." So, and Shar suggested that I kept the bike shorts on, but I could have behind the podium, I suppose, but right. But it comes as no surprise to me because I actually met Bill at the gym before he was my pastor. And when I showed up here to visit the first Sunday, I thought, oh, there's Bill from the gym. So that's how I knew Bill before I knew he was a pastor. But I'm really glad that he asked me to talk about this because it is something that I've thought about quite a bit and thought quite deeply about in the last several years because it's no secret, I do really like movement. I like exercise a lot. And I come by it honestly because my first exposure to formal exercise was in the 3rd grade when my mother, as most of your mothers probably did, took you to the high school track and told you to run a mile before you could go to the swimming pool. And her plan was to help my older brother win the local track meet so that he could have something he was good at. And we all swept the track meets until we were in high school because no one else had the stamina to run a mile as fast as we did because our mom made us run at the track. So that kind of stuck with me. I wasn't terribly successful as a runner in high school, but I knew it was a good thing to do. I knew that it would help me stay healthy, and that's kind of why I kept doing it. And what's ironic is most people run so that they don't gain weight, and that's what I did. But then I got to college and realized that I didn't have that problem because I wanted to try and lift weights to gain weight, and that didn't work either. So I kind of had the same reasons that everyone else did to exercise and to move. But that really changed throughout life, and especially when I started working and started to kind of develop my own love for exercise. And some of that kind of lined up with when I started to do local races and triathlons, and that's where Bill and I kind of connect on. And some of that also came into just some thoughts that I'd kind of had and been exposed to. I think one of the first things that challenged the way that I look at movement was when I was at a wedding for some friends after college, and I was sitting at a table with a guy who had been kind of talked about in a special reverence for people that do Ironman triathlons. And people are like, this guy's crazy. He does Ironmans. He's next level. And somebody had brought it up while we were having dinner after during the reception of the wedding, and they said, hey, why do you do those? Those are like, why do you spend so much time doing it? And he described it as sort of his way of worship, and I'd never heard it talked about like that before. And he said for him, he doesn't really connect in worship with singing or with some of the more traditional ways, but when he's out, on his bike or running or swimming, especially being outside, he feels, this deep connection to God, and he feels this kind of sense of worship. And I kind of resonated with me a little bit, and I started thinking about that a little bit more. And sort of throughout that summer, I was thinking about kind of how exercise makes me feel and why I enjoy it so much. And I started to think about how the benefits of it, I could see that with my mental health, with the way that I felt. Obviously, you get these endorphins when you exercise. You feel really good. But I also liked being able to push myself, and doing things like races let me do that because it was good for your self-esteem and your confidence because you felt capable, like you could do something if you worked hard at it. And kind of along the way, I decided to train for a marathon, and I read a book called Born to Run. And it was really fascinating, and it got me to think about how, as humans, we were created for movement. And that's something that we've done for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's this idea of that, when I exercise, when I run, when I'm active, I feel kind of a sense of wholeness of doing what we were created to do. And finally, something that I realized is that as I was doing different races and as I was training for things, that a lot of it was social. That's where I made a lot of really deep connections with people. And it's where I can see that exercise and movement oftentimes brings us together with other people. And we think of that when we're young and we play sports, and a lot of what gets kids to be active is playing with other kids or being on a team or having that connection, because it kind of motivates you to get out there and do it because you've got that accountability. And I found that when I trained for a marathon with my brother, he and I spent a lot of time together that we would not have. When I started dating my wife, she convinced me to go for runs at 6 a.m, which was out of character for me and still is. Especially now that she's pregnant, I cannot get myself out of bed if she doesn't lead in that area. And when we moved to a new place, we moved here to Muskegon, and we were both really involved in Run Muskegon, the local kind of running group, and we made a lot of friends there. And you realize that the running, the exercise was kind of the excuse. It was what we all needed to get out there and make new friends once a week and find things in common with. So Bill told me that he didn't expect everyone to become a super triathlete like me, but I should share some ideas. And I'm not a super triathlete anymore, especially now that we have young kids and life is busy, so I'm not even at that level anymore. But just some ideas to think about for wanting to incorporate more movement in your life. I think trying to make it part of your lifestyle is huge. For us, it's walking the dog. I love to go out and just go for a walk, and it's something easy that a lot of us have access to and can do. I ride my bike a lot, and a lot of it is just from point A to point B, and I've been very motivated by the gas prices to get back out there, and even though it's been a little bit cold, but today was beautiful. But we have just amazing bike paths here where it's really safe, really accessible just to get out there, and for me, it doesn't have to be anything amazing. It can be going to the gas station and back on your bike, and every little bit just helps you kind of get into the inertia, as Shar pointed out. Another tip I would say would be to try out group fitness if you've never done that before, because like I said, the social aspect really helps motivate people. And there's a lot of cool stuff going on at the church here with group fitness. I drove by one night, and I couldn't figure out what was going on because there were so many cars, and it was the drumming class. So it's really cool, and it's a great way to connect, but it's also motivating because you got people there, and you've got that accountability with that. So trying things out like that, trying some sports. They have adult sports leagues. They have pickleball, doing a yoga class. I was intimidated by yoga for a long time, but they're so friendly. They all say, am I doing this pose right? And they say, well, if it's right for you, it's good. There's not really a right way that it has to be, and I found that it was a lot less intimidating than I thought it would be. But we're really blessed here in Muskegon to have a lot of people that love getting outside and will do a lot of things. And that leads me to kind of the last idea is just to get outside. That's absolutely huge now that the weather is nice. I spend a lot of time just being outside in our yard, in the garden, just kind of putzing around, finding things to do. It gets you on your feet, but it just gets you outside and feeling connected with the earth, which I think is a really huge part of exercise too. Check out the state parks. I'd like to encourage you to try and get outside even in the winter, because I think that cold air is really good for you because it helps you appreciate how warm the inside of your house is. But also I think it helps you feel alive a little bit with that. So just some final reflections. I just want to encourage you all and challenge you to not think of movement and exercise as a way to be healthy or a way to have an aesthetic, to lose weight, to gain the right weight, to do what you need to. I want you to think deeply about it and try and think of it as wholeness, thinking about who we were created to be, and this idea that God created us with these bodies that can do amazing things and that can accomplish so much, and we can use them to do that and really love those bodies for that and feel that deep connection that I think comes into an idea of restoration too. There's so much in our lives from just how the world is, how much we have to work, how much we have to do different things that is really slowly destroying our bodies because we're not really made to sit in front of phones and computers and as much as we have to, or in a car. And being part of movement can be part of that restoration of kind of taking back the way things are supposed to be and celebrating that as part of your worship. So my prayer for you all is that you can feast in the joy of movement and that you can love the bodies that God created you with and what they can do. Thank you.
Before I invite Ed Wazinski up here to share some thoughts and ideas about mindfulness in breathing, we will do your favorite part of the service and take an offering. before we conclude with our song, I'm going to invite Ed Wazinski to come up and share some thoughts with you about mindful breathing. And I think I have to do a lot to introduce him. He's no stranger to us. He's strange, but he's not a stranger. So, Ed Wazinski. You want this mic?
So to follow up with Nate's message, Shar asked if I would share a little bit about working with young people and work that we can do together. In schools, we're paying a lot of attention to emotions and students' feelings. And we know in our culture today, all of us, including our young ones, are feeling more anxiety, more kinds of emotions. So a lot of our schools are spending some time teaching kids how to manage how they're feeling. Our feelings are our feelings. They're not right, they're not wrong, they are. So it's how we manage them. That is what we're working on. And in the system I work at in Fremont, we use a color system called zones of regulation that can identify how you're feeling. Red is anger, green is good feeling, blue is I'm feeling sick or some other type of emotion, a sadness. Yellow is kind of a cautionary tale, and I always use my daughter Maddie as an example for when feeling yellow. Maddie was famous for feeling yellow, and it was either in a situation of excitement, we're going to do something, which for Maddie was probably getting ice cream, and she would be very excited. She would be excited about that, and she would express that physically by having to jump up and down and move, and we'd say, oh, you're feeling something right now. Or sometimes it was anxiety, a worry about something, usually centered around a test, and we can all speak to that. We can all speak to feeling nervous, feeling yellow, feeling some anxieties. So we spend some time helping young people identify that, and those of you that have kids or grandkids or have time that you spend with kids in whatever form, or for yourself, can use breathing to help regulate yourself. We say we want to be regulated. When we get dysregulated, then we need to help ourselves figure out what to do so that our emotions don't get out of control, which is what we're trying to avoid. So I'm going to demonstrate, and you get to participate along. You can sit in your seat and do these techniques because these are things we do with young people, and these are kindergarten, they're second grade, and if they can do it, you can. So when we talk about breathing with kids, one of the things we say is we're going to demonstrate, we're going to show you how to do it, then we were going to do it with you, and then you're going to start to learn how to do this on your own. So when you're at home or when you're somewhere where you need to help yourself and calm yourself down, you can do it on your own, but we're going to do it with you and demonstrate and work with you so that you see it in action and can feel it. And it is scientific. We know, and you know that there are times in your life where you've had to take a moment and breathe to get yourself ready, right? You can specifically name those times when you've had to do that. And kids have to do that a lot, so we help them with it. So one of the things we work with kids on, because they have to figure it out, is what we call balloon breathing. So we have them think about where you're inflating a balloon, the air is staying in there, and then you're breathing it out. And the technique is you breathe in through your nose, you count to 3, hold it, and then breathe out your mouth. And it's important that you do it that way. It's not regular breathing. It's meditative. So you have to breathe in, hold, then exhale. So we put our hands on our heads like this. Nice job. Look at you all. Man, awesome. And then we fill our balloon, and when we do that, our hands go up. And we hold it. And we breathe out. And we breathe in. And we hold it. And we breathe out. One more time. Right? And kids can get that with a balloon. And usually I have a balloon with me, and I talk about what it feels like to be dysregulated. So I inflate the balloon, and then I let it go, and it just goes all over. And I said, sometimes that's how we act when we're dysregulated. We go all over, and it gets a little crazy, so you have to be careful. We want to let the air out carefully. Another one we do is called rainbow breathing. So we have the kids sit on the floor, and you're sitting just fine. Put your hands to your side. Oh, I got to stand out of here. And you're going to breathe in as you raise your hands up above your head. And then exhale down the arc of the rainbow. And then you do that again. One more time. And the last one I'll show you is called the knot, and that's a little more tricky, so you have to be a little more careful with it, right? Don't hurt yourself. So you take your hands and you have to put them like this. So that's the tricky part, especially for kindergarten or first grades. They're trying to figure out how to do that motion. And then you curl that up. Yep. And then you kind of squeeze as you do that, and that gives you some comfort. And then you just breathe in. So breathe in and squeeze and breathe out. And you again would do that 3 times. You're all pretty calm. I don't see you getting dysregulated, so we're not going to do that 3 times. You can also do a hug. You know, what we're trying to teach the kids is the embrace and the contact and comfort that they can provide themselves. You could also do it with a stuffed animal. We talk about that. You know, they have things at home that you can use, a blanket, a pillow, a stuffed animal, things you can hold and squeeze to kind of help when you are dysregulated, that physical need to hold and squeeze something as you're doing the breathing. And it's important, again, as you're communicating to your child or a grandchild, that this is something they can do all the time. They can feel it, and you help them demonstrate it so they understand, and then model that, and remind them that you do it as well. You don't do it, you know, you're not at Meyer doing a balloon breath because you're overwhelmed with a number of options of toothpaste, but you can see a dysregulated child in the toy aisle because they're upset about something, right? So we can help them with that process, and we do that regularly in schools, and you can do that in your home or kids that you're working with, or if you're a grandparent, a grandchild, or helping their parent, help them understand that. So it's important to do that because, again, in today's world, what we're seeing for all of us, adults and children, is an increased level of anxiety. So we're increasing our yellow feelings, and we need to help make sure that we can bring our bodies back to a green state so we're ready to do the things that we need to do, especially with test prep or big things, big decisions that they have before a game, before a test, before a big choice about what to do. They could do some breathing as they think about it because it helps calm their body and clear their brain to make that choice. So those are some things we do at school. Shar asked me to share it. It goes along with Nate's message about how we use our bodies to help maintain our regulation and help maintain our health. And our mental health is really, really important. So I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Our last song is going to be number 400 from the Red Book. I just want to say, to do my part here, we can help ourselves with mindful breathing by taking it to the next step and incorporating prayerfulness, our own feelings of empathy for folks that we know are suffering in the world, and we can take that time to settle ourselves and hope and try to send positive energy and prayerful thoughts to those that we know are deeply in need. So just a couple of quick announcements before we go. First of all, Thursday's service is at 6 o'clock starting tomorrow instead of 5:30. And, I had another one that I don't remember. Anyway, well, I'll try to give it to Beth Milligan to put in the bulletin or something. But anyway, I had 2. But do remember that if you're coming to church tomorrow, it's at 6 o'clock. Thank you for coming, and we will close the service with number 400.
And we will be singing verses 1 and 3.